I recognize the member from Regina Wall-Shakers.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and it's a pleasure for me to join in the debate about the budget 2014-15. And right off the bat, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I'd like to thank a few people before I get into my comments about the budget. I actually stand our first budget as a new father, so I've learned. Our son was born last May, and I've kind of looked at the budget from a different point of view now, as our member from Rossiter and Shelburne talked about looking at it as a Saskatchewan Advantage savings credits, the tax credits for future people going to university, which I find future young people going to university. And I'm looking really forward to the day when I'm able to put money away for our son's education, which we're going to start doing right away. Hopefully, as all fathers hope, hopefully he's going to be signing an NHL contract, and we're not going to have to worry about that. But we'll have a fallback plan here in case that doesn't work out. And as always, Mr. Deputy Speaker, there's a few people we do have to thank, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And first and foremost, I have to thank my lovely wife, who I think, like many of us, our spouses allow us to do the job that we do, and it's a strain on their lives as much as it is on our lives. They give up a lot of time with us so that we can do our jobs and go to community events and represent our constituents. And my wife does a wonderful job, and with our new little guy, she is a wonderful mother, and I can't say enough nice things about my wife because she puts up with me as well, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And I think that's no small burden, and she's a wonderful sounding board for ideas, and she's, as many members say, our best counsel. She's my best friend, and she's one of the big reasons I'm able to stand and give this address today. We also have a hard-working group at our constituency office. My CA right now took a month holiday. She's in Thailand, but I have a wonderful person filling in, Kate Verbeek. She's doing a wonderful job. And my full-time assistant, Heather Hallis-Shiplak, does great work with constituents. She's great for casework. I think she's doing a wonderful job, and the people of Wall-Shakers have responded and such, and we get a couple phone calls that she's done wonderful work for them, and I'm very happy to have such great help at the constituency office. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I'm kind of going to look at this budget from a different point of view. We all have our budget briefings, and usually we get to go over and pour over them, but after the budget briefing this Wednesday, I ran home as fast as I could and put Nixon in a tub and was able to give him a bath. And when my wife was putting him to bed, I went over the budget books, and I was looking at it and thinking, in 20 years, I wonder what people are going to look back and remember about this budget. If 20 years from now, if my son asks me, well, Dad, why did you do that? Why did you do that? I think we should have the answers for them. So I took a look at the budget from that point of view. And I think one thing our budget's going to be known for is the first budget presented on a summary financial basis, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And that's something which I think is very important moving forward for the citizens of Saskatchewan. It's a change that should have happened. I think the NDP were calling for it for a long, long time, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And I think the fact that this change has happened is one of the biggest reasons why, and I may be wrong, but I think this may have been the first time the opposition gave the government financer a standing ovation, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And I listened intently to the member from Rosemont's long remarks yesterday, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and for the opposition to come forward, give a standing ovation on one point, and then absolutely go off the rails and talk about how bad things are in Saskatchewan, how bad things are for families. Well, Mr. Deputy Speaker, we talk to constituents as well, and I think that speech that was given by the member from Regina Rosemont could have been cut and paste from an NDP speech in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I think they've continuously looked in the rearview mirror, and they're missing out on the greatest province in the Dominion of Canada right now, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And I think some of the wonderful things in this budget, which I'm sure, and a couple of members clapped on occasion yesterday, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I'm sure that we can all agree and say it's a good thing that we're building new schools in Regina. Sacred Heart, Connaught, and the member from Elphinstone has stood in this assembly time and time and time on petitions asking for a new Sacred Heart school in his constituency. He gets it, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and I hope he can stand up when it's time to vote on this budget and vote for his constituents, vote for the people of Elphinstone, because they got the school that they deserve, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And I think it would be a terrible misrepresentation of what people want if that member stands up and votes against a budget that gives them a new school. Mr. Speaker, Deputy Speaker, I stand in this assembly and I think about a couple other things that members opposites have said about our budget. A member from Regina Rosemont talks about the need, the truck traffic on Dudney. Well, Mr. Deputy Speaker, this budget looks at easing that traffic problem, Mr. Deputy Speaker. It looks at doing a truck bypass for Regina. Money's in there for this. I'm not going to, I can't believe the member can stand in his spot and talk about how bad the GTH is for the city of Regina. The economic activity that's going down there, Mr. Deputy Speaker, we don't see the GTH as a problem. We see it as a solution. We see it as an opportunity for people in Regina to have good jobs. We see it as an opportunity for Saskatchewan to become a leader in logistics, in services, in supply chain management, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And for that member that represents Regina, and I understand he represents a portion of Regina Dudney, represents that area and say that GTH is something that's causing problems, well, that's just a different philosophy, Mr. Deputy Speaker. They say the GTH is causing problems. I say it's creating solutions, creating employment, creating opportunity for our city. And then he wants a solution to the GTH, and we're going to bring in a bypass so trucks won't be going down Dudney. And that member puts forward an amendment to the budget that's going to build schools in Regina, solve a problem that he has in Regina with traffic on Dudney. Then he brings forward an amendment and he won't vote for a budget that's solving some of the problems he himself says there are out there. And I think that's something where when they take the weekend, I think they should take the weekend and maybe go over the budget a little bit more and realize how many actual good things for hardworking families, for parents, are in this budget, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And I'd like to go over a few of those things right now. And Mr. Deputy Speaker, I think we've had a record of doing what we say we're going to do with budgets. And this is the 7th consecutive balanced budget that this government's brought forward, Mr. Deputy Speaker, on the summary financial basis, a $71 million surplus, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and that's something that we take ample pride in, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I think we work hard as a government to put priorities right. We work hard to make sure we are listening to the people of Saskatchewan and we're putting the people's priorities first. And I think first and foremost, one of their priorities is to make sure that the government is balancing their books, like every family, every household, every business has to balance their books at home and in the office, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I think that another thing that we committed to is steady growth, sustainable growth, helping the economy. We know the businesses, the people, the hard-working people of Saskatchewan grow this economy. I think it's the government's job to make sure that they create a climate where there can be some success and they stay out of the way of the people of this province, ensuring the government doesn't hinder their ability to do business. Excuse me. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I agree that this budget is about steady growth. It invests money in people and invests money in infrastructure and some of the things that we need most. Infrastructure is what's going to enable our economy to continue hitting on all cylinders, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And some of that investment we can see is that there's Mr. Deputy Speaker, there's $681.2 million invested in agriculture, the cornerstone of our economy. $589 million invested in community development, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And development is something that is very important to our province. Moving forward, Mr. Deputy Speaker, as the Premier is often quoted as saying, we do not achieve growth for growth's sake. We achieve growth for what we can do with that growth. And there's going to be some great examples in the budget of priorities what we put in place to ensure that this growth is benefiting the people of Saskatchewan, Mr. Deputy Speaker. In 2007, this government brought forward a program, a program for disabilities and giving people some money that's really going to help them out. We have increased that investment and said, Mr. Deputy Speaker, we increased the investment to SIP, Mr. Deputy Speaker, the Senior Income Plan, because seniors are what help build this province, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And I remember the member from Rosemont talking about how we're not investing in our people. We're not investing in our seniors. We're not investing in our children. But Mr. Deputy Speaker, that could not be further from the truth.
Hear, hear.
We're increasing our we're increasing our health capital, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Our health budget is $5 billion, and I'm proud to say that that's something where we're really working hard. We're working hard to make health care better in this province, Mr. Deputy Speaker. We're working hard to find efficiencies, because that's what people want, Mr. Deputy Speaker. People want to know that we're trying to make our health dollars go as far as they can. We're investing in infrastructure, infrastructure for health in Prince Albert. My seatmate was very, very happy to see my colleague going over from Moose Jaw is very happy with their hospital in Moose Jaw. And it's nice to see all of my happy colleagues on International Happy Day, Mr. Deputy Speaker. They're all smiling and having a good time. We are also investing, like we mentioned before, in K-12 schools, Mr. Deputy Speaker. $103.3 million in 2014-15, $96.2 million for school capital, which is going to break down quickly, Mr. Deputy Speaker, is consisting of $46.4 million for construction on 10 ongoing major school projects, $24 million for school maintenance, up 4.6 or 26% from last year, $9.5 million to proceed to construction for 2 new schools, $6.9 million for 29 new locatables, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And this is a problem that the opposition probably never really had to look at: relocatable classrooms. Mr. Speaker, I think it's a lot easier for a government, as the NDP realized in the past, to mitigate stagnation, to mitigate decline, Mr. Deputy Speaker. They wouldn't know that relocatable classrooms are needed because they never experienced population growth. They never experienced enrollments increasing in K-12 education. And I think these challenges we're facing are challenges we're happy to face. I think people in Saskatchewan are happy that our province is growing, Mr. Deputy Speaker. There's $1 million for minor capital projects, $1 million for 15 new pre-K programs, which in a couple years, pre-K programs are going to be very important to my wife and I. Our little guy will be getting into the pre-K programs, and I think it's very important that those possibilities are there for our young people. And like the member from Rossman Shelburne spoke about, training young people early is important, and that's why we are investing in K-12 education, Mr. Deputy Speaker. We're also investing in post-secondary education, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Advanced education and training infrastructure is $32.6 million in 2014-15. $20.6 million for maintenance and post-secondary institutions, which is up $4.1 million from the previous year, and $12 million in project funding, including $6.5 for the health sciences facility at the U of S, $4.5 for Parkland Regional College, and $1.1 million for Southeast Regional College.
Good stuff. All good stuff.
We've had a track record, Mr. Deputy Speaker, of investing in post-secondary education, investing in K-12 education, Mr. Deputy Speaker. The infrastructure that is needed in these very important portfolios, Mr. Deputy Speaker, is something we take as a very serious priority. I remember when I was going to school, and when it rained, when I went to Waldeck School and it rained, you had to make sure you didn't trip over the buckets because all the holes leaked in the roof, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And this is something that we're really moving away from. We're trying to ensure that the next future, the future of our province, realizes we're committed to them, the government's committed for them to move forward, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I remember the member from Roosevelt talking about seniors, talking about grandparents, mothers and fathers. Like, we don't have them, Mr. Deputy Speaker. We have grandparents. I was happy to go visit my wife's Baba in Yorkton last weekend and visit her and her residence. And Mr. Deputy Speaker, we want to make sure our seniors have the best possible care. And we actually back that talk up. The Seniors Personal Care Home benefit will increase the monthly income eligibility threshold by $75 from $1,875 per month to $1,950 per month for an average benefit of $385 per month. The Senior Citizens Ambulance Assistance Program will receive increased funding of $217,000 for additional claims. And Mr. Deputy Speaker, I don't think it can be said enough how when we were in government, one of the first things we did was look at the seniors income plan. The NDP government had 16 years to show how much they wanted seniors to do better. 16 years to increase the seniors income plan, and they didn't increase it once, Mr. Deputy Speaker, not once. So for them to sit on that side of the aisle and talk about how much they cared and how much they did for seniors, I think is one of my favorite words, disingenuous at the best, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And I want to talk a little bit more about some plans we have, because this government, this budget is based on our Saskatchewan plan for growth. Moving forward, our minister is taking long-term care serious in Regina. There's $1 million in planning for long-term care, Mr. Speaker, in Regina, and I think that's for planning where we need to go. We realize the population of Saskatchewan is getting older. We realize we're going to need more options for long-term care, Mr. Deputy Speaker. It's not, I think the comment made by the member from Lakeview that we just fly by the seat of our pants is, I don't know how their outfit runs over there, Mr. Deputy Speaker, but we generally have plans in place, and I think if you want to compare plans, well, I guess you really can't, because they haven't had a plan on their website. They've had a new leader for a year, not one policy plan, not one plan for growth, not one crumb of economic plans within their party, Mr. Deputy Speaker. So I don't know, maybe hopefully they have a convention coming up soon so they can actually start putting some policies down on paper. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I want to take this opportunity to congratulate probably one of my favorite ministers, Minister of Social Services. Sorry, Nat. Minister for Social Services. She's done probably one of the best jobs in social services as a minister in this province's history. The Habitat for Humanity home is we back that money, we back that talk up with money. We've provided millions of dollars to Habitat for Humanity. I've been able to go to a couple key ceremonies with the minister, and when she walks in, everyone recognizes her right away, and they know that the decisions this minister's made for the vulnerable people in Saskatchewan are all because she has such a big heart, and she's done a fantastic job. The Head Start for Home program is, I've been able to go to some of the groundbreaking ceremonies and some of the turning key ceremonies for those two, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and the people, to see their faces walk in their new home and look at the home that they're going to be able to, a safe place to raise their family and a safe place for their kids, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I think it's, we all owe this Social Services Minister a great round of applause for the job she's done. Yes, Mr. Deputy Speaker, the Justice Minister is okay as well. Mr. Speaker, just to speak about education for a bit more, because I think that we've put a lot of money forward for education, and there's a couple statements I'd like to probably fact check for the member from Regina Rosemont, especially around EAs, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Fact check, yes, Mr. Deputy Speaker. So I think that EAs in Saskatchewan, I'm sure that's the decision made by school boards, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and I'm quite certain that there isn't less EAs in the province now than there was before. I'm quite certain there's more EAs in this province than there was under the NDP. And for them to fearmonger and spread out this false information, Mr. Deputy Speaker, there's nothing but an injustice to them, because I think a lot of times we've heard it time and time again with their preamble when they ask questions, and our ministers have to stand up and say, well, the preamble isn't exactly right. What the member opposite said wasn't exactly right. So I think at some point in time they have to take a step back and realize that just because they say it time and time again, it doesn't make it true. Mr. Deputy Speaker. We think the teachers in our province are doing a wonderful job. I believe I have teachers in my family. My brother was a teacher, my auntie's a teacher, my cousin's a teacher, my cousin's wife's a teacher, and we talk with teachers as well. And we want to have a wonderful relationship with the teachers of Saskatchewan. We want to make sure that we're both doing as best as we can for the students across Saskatchewan. That's why you see the investment in education capital in our province, Mr. Deputy Speaker. That's why you see new schools being built in our province, because we want the best possible outcomes for our students across the whole province, and it's a commitment that the former minister made, the commitment that the current minister makes, and I'm sure on this side, as long as we're on this side of the House, Mr. Deputy Speaker, we're going to continue to invest in children's future all across Saskatchewan. Mr. Deputy Speaker, there's a few more things I'd like to touch on, and one would be the support for municipalities. I know we made a commitment to 1 point of the PST, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and that was a commitment that municipalities were calling for across the province. I believe we're one of the first provinces in Canada to allow for a consistent amount of money that municipalities are going to receive. Municipalities have an easier time budgeting because they know how much money they're going to get based on the 1 point of the PST, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And there's a slight accounting change, so there's the money that the municipalities are receiving is down slightly from last year. But Mr. Speaker, if you want to look at as a whole, from 2007 to 2014, Mr. Deputy Speaker, the monies that municipalities have received from across Saskatchewan has more than doubled, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And Moose Jaw received 144% more since 2007-8, and I think Regina's around 171, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And I think that's the commitment that we make with our levels of our partners in government, the different levels of government. They appreciate that commitment from the government of Saskatchewan, and they know that when they want to do projects, this government will be there to assist them because of the commitment we made with our municipal revenue sharing, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And there's a couple of projects going forward, and you see it in our budget. There's groundbreaking right now, and there's been an announcement with PCL is going to be doing a stadium, so there's $50 million in the budget for the stadium in Regina, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And I believe that when we're I think 2017 is when the stadium is looking to be finished, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and I think it's something when it's done, all of Saskatchewan is going to look at this facility as something that we can be proud of and something that's going to be a first-class facility, not just a stadium, but a convention center as well, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there's a few more things I would like to talk about from our point of view that
Go for it.
the members opposite, I think they'll be in favor of, and one is the long-term care facility in L'Orange. There's been a member across that aisle that's been asking for a long-term care facility in L'Orange, so I think since he's been elected. And Mr. Deputy Speaker, when that was announced, he looked shocked, not happy, but shocked. And I couldn't really understand his reaction because as a member of the Legislative Assembly, you try and get the best possible outcomes for your constituents. Whether it be on opposition or government, we're here to work hard for our constituents. And when someone gets a good amount of money for their constituents, they should be happy. But I'm not so sure the member from Cumberland is happy. Another thing I'm wondering is that how is he going to be able to go back to L'Orange, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and say, you know, this government is building a long-term care facility, and I voted against it.
That'd be interesting.
That's going to be a tough sell to the people of L'Orange, and I think there are going to be a couple of questions around, well, Mr. Cumberland, Emily, why would you do that? Why would you vote against a new long-term facility in L'Orange? And another question I'd have to this member, because I remember specifically yesterday, the member from Rosemont say there's nothing in this budget for the North, which again, there's some fact checking that needs to be done, Mr. Deputy Speaker, because I was running through just a priority for growth, and at Sask Power, that we're investing $1.2 billion for electricity generation, clean coal, natural gas, and the hydro, as well as distribution transmission. And $380 million of those dollars are for expansion from Island Falls to Key Lake to provide improved system stability for northern businesses, industry, and residents. So how could you go and say a budget has nothing in it for the North, a long-term care home, $380 million for electrical upgrades in the North, and the member from Cumberland, and I'm taking a wild leap here, but probably the member from Athabasca are going to vote against this budget. I'm looking forward to their speeches, Mr. Deputy Speaker, because when these two members stand on their feet and they start talking against the budget that I'm taking maybe a leap here again, Mr. Deputy Speaker, but probably one of the best budgets for Northern Saskatchewan for a long, long time. And those two members are going to have to go home to their constituents and say, you know, you guys got a fair bit of money, but we voted against that budget. And I'm going to be very interested to see how many constituents are happy when they vote against a budget that's good for Northern Saskatchewan. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I got some time left here, Mr. Deputy Speaker, which I'm pretty happy about because I haven't even got to the third-party quotes I'd like to talk about. And I've never done this this is my first time doing this in the House, but I'm going to quote a journalist by the name of Maria Mandrick. And Mr. Deputy Speaker, a quote from the esteemed journalist, as the member from Roston Shelburne said, I want to say this at least once in his career. He might be the best finance minister I have seen at actually managing the line-by-line costs.
Wow. Wow.
Unquote.
This was his 30th
I
budget, too.
could not agree more with Mr. Mandrick.
Yep.
I think we have a finance minister, a treasury board that worked hard on these budget items, line by line, not a seat of their pants change. I don't remember seeing the member from Regina Lakeview on our caucus meetings, and I'm pretty sure he's never been in one of our cabinet meetings. But this government took every item in this budget seriously. Went over it line by line for many, many months. It wasn't a one-day operation. Once again, I'm taking a liberty. I'm not sure how they did their budgets in the 80s and 90s and 2000s. Poorly, I know that. But besides that, I'm not sure how they organized them. But the member of Lakeview could have just wrote them all at home. Actually, I'm not sure. He maybe created the term budget actually. But Mr. Deputy Speaker, what I want to say is that this budget is one of the things that in 20 years, one of the things I'm going to be able to tell my son when he asks me about my time in politics, and 20 years is a long time, I'll be able to tell him that this budget, when brought in summary financial statements as the main way to bring budgets forward, that brought in a 7th consecutive balanced budget, that took the words of people from across Saskatchewan, because I think we have a wide growth of people from across Saskatchewan in our caucus, Mr. Deputy Speaker. We from all over the province, and it took every person going out and talking to their constituents, having great caucus discussions, prioritizing things that we talked to the people of Saskatchewan, that they had their best interests at heart, investing in people, investing in infrastructure, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and I'm going to be able to tell my son this is one of the budgets we're most proud of as a government. Bringing it to the people of Saskatchewan, I'm going to be extremely happy to go out door knocking this summer. And when people of Regina Wallshakers ask, well, Mr. Steinley, what have you done for us? I'm going to say, I just quoted myself. Well, as our MLA, what have you been able to provide? And I was saying, and I'll be able to tell them on the doorstep, I'll be able to tell them that, constituents, we brought balanced budgets to Saskatchewan. We brought a new way to deliver our budgets. As the provincial auditor, acting provincial auditor, say, Mr. Deputy Speaker, our office, and I quote, our office strongly supports these changes. Acting Provincial Auditor Judy Ferguson said, they will eliminate confusion and help legislators and the public better understand the government's finances. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I think this is fantastic news. The people of Saskatchewan think this budget is a good thing moving forward. I haven't got to what the CEO, Steve McClellan, has said yet, Mr. Deputy Speaker, but I'm going to have a lot more fun door knocking in Walsh Acres than they're going to have door knocking in Lakeview and Elphinstone.